14 minutes now before the hour. Is America in decline? Bill O'Reilly asking Charles Krauthammer about how bad things are in the country right now, and the doctor saying that America's loss of power is the result of decisions made by the White House. Listen to Charles' point here.
Temporarily, it is very bad, but there's a big difference between decline as a condition and decline as a choice. What we have with Obama is a president choosing decline. But this is very much unlike how many people talk about decline as a condition, a result of something wrong with America.
Well, let's talk about that with Rich Lowry, editor, National Review, and a Fox News contributor. Good morning to you. Have you written about this topic yet?
Yeah.
You have.
And, you know, I think the distinction Charles is making is that powerful countries do decline because of conditions. France is bled white by World War I. Britain, more or less the same thing happens in World War II. This is still an extremely powerful country, and the only reason we are being humiliated around the world almost day by day, it feels like, and seeing our influence diminish is because of the choices this president is making.
The phrase Krauthammer used, he's the big difference between decline as a condition, decline as a choice. That was the distinction he was making. One nation among others. That was some very interesting phrasing.
Yes. Well, the embedded assumption of this president and people around him seems to have been that we had this rise of radicalism and things going wrong in the world because of the supposed bullying of the United States and the foolishness of its policies. So the administration has adopted what it considers the opposite policy of retreat and passivity. And what we're seeing is radicalism literally on the march every single day.
Because they're filling the vacuum. But the thinking being, if we're a kinder, gentler, more isolated country, the world will respect us more and the world will go about its way. In a more peaceful manner.
Two assumptions. One, if we just tend our garden at home, we do more infrastructure spending, we spend more on Obamacare, we're a stronger country and better off in the long run. And two, if we're quieter abroad, more one nation among many, people will respect us more. And I think both parts of those assumptions are wrong. We put the domestic policy argument aside for the moment, but there's probably not any region in the world or country in the world where our standing has been enhanced or our interest advanced over the last 6 years. That's an extraordinary accomplishment. No, especially in the Middle East. You look at them all, our Gulf allies. They're all afraid of our retreat in the region. Iran is in the march. The Revolutionary Guards, are in Syria, and now they're going to be in Iraq. Israel, our relationship is chilled at best, and the Palestinians, now Hamas is part of the government there. So the Middle East is a complete disaster.
I put that question to Chris Van Hollen last week on our show, Democrat from Maryland, and he gave it some consideration. Then he said East Asia.
Well, that was the whole idea.
Is that Thailand? Is that Burma?
I don't think the whole idea is that you leave the Middle East to pivot to Asia, but the pivot to Asia was just a cliche. It was just a line. This had no substance whatsoever, and all our allies in in East Asia are looking at what's happened in the Middle East and saying, can we trust these guys anymore? And the answer is no.
Choice to retreat. Charles talked about Ukraine, talked about the Middle East that you just mentioned there. If you have 2 years and 5 months left of your administration, are you forced now, because of the events on the ground in places like Iraq and Syria, to be re-engaged, whether you want to or not?
Yeah, well, that's one of the theories, is the way Jimmy Carter at the end of his administration, when the Soviets go into Afghanistan, says, wait a minute, all my assumptions are wrong, I have to change course. You saw this with George W. Bush to some extent as well. The war in Iraq is going extremely poorly. He says, I have to change course and change my assumptions about how many troops we need there and what they should be doing. There should be a similar reset, to coin a phrase, with this administration, but it's not clear whether it's going to be forthcoming.
Decline as a choice, to be continued. Thank you, Rich. Rich Lowry.
Thanks,
nice
Bill.
to see you. All right.